Snow White is one of the most famous fairy tale characters in the world. But did you know she's been in movies and TV shows for over 100 years? From silent films to modern Disney remakes, Snow White has changed a lot, and her story keeps getting told in new and surprising ways. If you love classic characters and fun movie history, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this. In this video, we'll take a look at how Snow White has appeared in films and TV from 1916 all the way to 2025. Some versions are sweet and magical, others are funny, dark, or even action-packed. Let's explore how this classic princess has grown and changed through the years. Before Disney made her famous, Snow White had already appeared on the big screen. The very first time Snow White showed up in a movie was way back in 1916, in a silent film called Snow White. She was played by actress Marguerite Clark. This version was based on a Broadway play, which was itself based on the old fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. The story follows many of the classic elements. An evil queen wants Snow White gone, a kind huntsman helps her escape, and she finds safety with the 7 dwarfs. Even in this early version, Snow White's kindness and innocence shine through. In 1933, the popular cartoon character Betty Boop starred in a short animated parody of Snow White. It's weird, wild, and a bit spooky. When a magic mirror says Betty is the fairest of them all, the jealous queen tries to get rid of her. Betty ends up frozen in a block of ice, but the dwarfs save her. The queen even turns into a scary dragon-like monster. This version is more of a fun twist than a true retelling, but it shows how popular the Snow White story already was even before Disney's big hit. Then came the movie that changed everything. Disney's Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, released in 1937. It was the very first full-length animated movie ever made, and it made Snow White a true icon. In this version, Snow White is a kind and gentle princess forced to work as a maid by her jealous stepmother. When the magic mirror says Snow White is more beautiful than the queen, the evil stepmother sends a huntsman to kill her. But he can't do it, and Snow White runs into the forest where she meets the 7 dwarfs. She cooks, cleans, and sings for them, and they promise to protect her. But the queen disguises herself and gives Snow White a poisoned apple. Snow White falls into a deep sleep, and everyone thinks she's dead until the prince arrives and wakes her with a kiss. The movie ends with a happy ever after, and Disney's version of Snow White became the one most people remember to this day. After Disney's 1937 classic, Snow White continued to appear in all kinds of new versions between the 1960s and 1980s. In 1961, Snow White and the 3 Stooges turned the fairy tale into a silly comedy, where the Stooges help Snow White escape the evil queen. That same year, an East German film stayed closer to the original Grimm story. In a unique twist, Snow White wakes up when a piece of the poisoned apple pops out after the dwarfs drop her coffin, no kiss needed. In 1980, A Snow White Christmas introduced a second Snow White, the daughter of the original. After the evil queen freezes the kingdom, the younger Snow White escapes and hides with 7 friendly giants. Instead of a poisoned apple, there's a magical flower. Then in 1984, Fairy Tale Theater gave the story a dramatic spin, with Snow White getting attacked with ribbons before the classic poisoned apple appears. In 1987, a musical version ended with the queen turning to dust when her mirror breaks. Finally, in 1989, Happily Ever After. Imagine Snow White's life after the fairy tale, as she fights the evil queen's brother with help from her new allies, the Dwarfs. During the 1990s and 2000s, Snow White started appearing in all kinds of new ways, sometimes funny, sometimes dramatic, and sometimes totally unexpected. In 1991, an Australian animated movie called The Magic Riddle combined several fairy tales into one story, including Snow White. In this version, Snow White is called Cindy, and she's treated badly by her stepmother. Using a magical disguise, the stepmother gives her a cursed apple that puts Cindy to sleep. But in the end, Cindy wakes up and gets her happy ending. In 1994, a Japanese anime series called The Legend of Snow White gave the story a more serious twist. After war breaks out, Snow White's father leaves her with her stepmother, who turns out to be evil. The queen tries to take over Snow White's body to stay young forever. But Snow White's fiancé, Prince Richard, fights the real villain, an ancient witch named Lady Helen, and saves her. It's a dramatic and emotional version of the tale. In the year 2000, Snow White appears as a spirit in The 10th Kingdom, a fantasy miniseries. She's older and wiser, living in an icy cave where she gives advice to the main character, Virginia. Snow White shares her story and helps guide the next generation of fairy tale heroes. In 2004, a German comedy movie called Seven Dwarfs, Men Alone in the Wood featured a funny version of Snow White. She's kidnapped by the evil queen, but rescued by a dwarf who turns out to be her father. Then in 2006, the sequel Seven Dwarfs, The Forest Is Not Enough, shows Snow White as a mom. The villain tries to steal her baby, and she has to guess his real name to save her child, kind of like Rumpelstiltskin. These versions are full of silly jokes, but they still follow the heart of the classic story. From 2012 onward, Snow White started to appear as a much stronger and more independent character. Let's look at how she evolved in the modern era. In 2012, Snow White and the Huntsman showed a darker, more epic version of the story. Kristen Stewart plays Snow White, who escapes the queen and learns to fight. She leads an army, defeats the evil queen, and becomes queen herself. This Snow White doesn't just wait to be rescued, she takes charge. Also in 2012, another movie called Mirror Mirror was released, starring Lily Collins. This version is colorful and fun. Snow White trains with a group of bandits, instead of dwarfs, to take back her kingdom. She's clever, brave, and funny, a real modern princess. In 2018, Snow White appeared with all the Disney princesses in Ralph Breaks the Internet. They wear comfy clothes and joke about their past stories. It's a fun scene that shows how Disney is now making fun of its own fairy tale cliches. In 2019, the animated film Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs gave Snow White a new look and a new message. At first, she's teased for being chubby, but after putting on magical red shoes, she turns into a slim version of herself. Throughout the movie, she learns that beauty isn't about looks. It's about who you are inside. In 2023, Snow White appeared in the animated special Lego Disney Princess, The Castle Quest. Along with Rapunzel, Tiana, and other princesses, she tries to rescue King Triton from Gaston and Maleficent. Snow White uses her ability to talk to animals to calm wild wolves and even tames a dragon. She's kind, smart, and a total team player. Looking ahead to 2025, Disney will release a brand new live-action remake of Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler. This new version promises to be more modern, with original songs by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. Snow White is said to be more independent and brave, still sweet, but no longer just waiting for a prince. It's the next big step in her evolution. From 1916 to 2025, Snow White has truly come a long way. She started out as a gentle princess in a silent film, and over the years, she's been reimagined as a funny cartoon and a fierce warrior, a magical guide, and even a Lego action hero. No matter the version, one thing has always stayed the same. Snow White reminds us that kindness, courage, and staying true to yourself never go out of style. If you enjoyed this look at her incredible journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Which version of Snow White is your favorite? Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious.